Welcome to this second part of a three-part series where I'm taking an IFC file and I'm converting it to a geodatabase, and then I'm going to publish it as a 3D web scene. So in this second section, I'm going to be using ArcGIS Pro on some multi-patch data that I've already converted from IFC to geodatabase multi-patch, and it was originally drawn at kind of a 0,0 coordinate space, but I know that this information is going to end up in the Chicago area, and so I'm going to use some of the tools in ArcGIS Pro to essentially edit and move this data to its proper location. Now, ArcGIS Pro doesn't have the data interoperability extension, so I started this process back in ArcScene, and I generated a geodatabase. And so I have switched over here to ArcGIS Pro, and I'm going to add that same information to a scene here in ArcGIS Pro. So I'm just going to browse to the geodatabase that I created, and I'm going to pull in the same multi-patch data as I did before, just to go through the process of showing you how I chose to edit this data here using ArcGIS Pro. And so you see when I add it here, I'm basically at the planet core somewhere in Missouri, which is not where this building is supposed to be. And so we are going to use the tools of ArcGIS Pro to try to pull this drawing data that originated from an IFC file out from the center of the Earth, and pull it into where it should go. And so to help orient myself, sometimes when I get lost, I'll zoom to a particular feature, and that's a technique that I use when I'm kind of get lost here somewhere in the underground under the Earth. I can see where I am here. Just kind of zooming around here under the ground, looking at this set of geodatabase multi-patch information that I had converted from IFC. And so my goal is to move it to where it's supposed to be. So one of the techniques that I use is the 3D editing tools. And so a quick way for me to select everything to do a graphic edit is to go over to the table of contents and just multi-select all the different layers, and then say, I want to select all. And so that's going to go ahead and grip everything, and then I can perform one of the different graphic editing commands. And so the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to use the move to command, and it has a delta option, and I just happen to know that across the center of the country the elevation range is about 1,000 feet, so it's probably not quite 1,000 feet, but that'll at least push all my data above the ground. And so that's the first step that I'm going to do. And so once I've done that, I can try to reorient myself and find out where this data is to begin the second part. So again, I use kind of the technique where I zoom to a particular feature, and that way I can see, oh look, I'm above the ground, which is good news, but I'm still somewhere in Missouri. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out, and I'm just going to perform a graphic edit to just drag this data across the country and place it someplace closer. So I've got everything selected, and then I'm going to activate the graphic move tool. And so there's a couple of different techniques that I could use, and the move tool is pretty straightforward. So I select the move tool. So I'm doing all of this editing just completely graphically. Certainly if I had more information about the exact location, I might be using like a transform or some other tool to exactly move them by a set of control points. But in this case, I'm just trying to place this building in the scene. And I'm going to use the imagery as kind of my guide. I can recognize this kind of a unique looking building, and I know the street address, and so I was able to kind of scout its location and just kind of get it close here. And so this is kind of the site where I'm at. I'm still quite a bit above the ground, and so I'm going to essentially just kind of nudge it into place using a combination move and move to commands. I can go ahead and speed up the process of the incremental move and nudging that I did to put this into position, both horizontal and vertical shifts that I made until I got it to where I wanted it, and then I can save my edits to the geodatabase and then proceed to do some additional modifications of the symbology in preparation for sharing this information as web scene layers. And so here in ArcGIS Pro, in this next video, I'll talk about the process of using ArcGIS Pro 1.3 and the new geoprocessing tools to create scene packages that I can easily upload to my ArcGIS Online account. So here, after I finish nudging this into place, I can work on just resymbolizing this multi-patch data, getting it ready for sharing out to a web scene. So stay tuned for the next video. Quickly, I want to add just one more thing. Because I originally started with a 0,0 coordinate system and then put this information in state plane, my extent is going to be really bad. So if I try to zoom to the extents, I'm going to get I'm going to zoom all the way out here to the area between here and Missouri. So to simply fix this, I can tighten the extent of the data by using a geoprocessing tool. And so I'm going to go ahead and update each of these multi-patch feature classes with a better extent by using the recalculate feature class extent tool, which does, like its name suggests, tightens up that extent so that when I'm in a web scene or I'm anywhere looking at this data and I want to zoom to the extents, I'll get a more reasonable result that's tight to the actual data that we're talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and run that tool on the different feature classes, and then when we do zoom to the extent, we get a nice crisp extent where I can locate things. So I just wanted to add that, and then we can move on to the next step of sharing this information to a web scene.